So the next thing we're going to learn is we're going to learn about using the console in developer tools in your browser. And we're going to learn about alert and console.log. And we're also going to look at documentation on MDN, Mozilla Developers Network, because that's the go-to source for JavaScript documentation. And so to get to your developer tools in your browser, you just want to get a new tab and then go over here to these. I'm working in Chrome. So if you're not working in Chrome, make sure you're in Chrome or find it in whatever browser you're working in. But you could come down here to more tools, and then they have developer tools. You could see the keyboard shortcuts, Control-Shift-I. So if I open that up, I could go to the console. And then here at the console, I could do things like alert. And I think we already have seen this. And I could do an alert hello. And so there is, just something, and it puts an alert up here when I press enter. And so there's my alert. And I could also do console.log. And so these are things that, logging this, these are things that you're going to need to know. You'll need to know alert. You'll need to know how to log things at the console and go look at that. And so this is where the console is. And there's the command to console log something. And I'm doing that. And we're learning to speak a new language here. And these are just the different words we're learning. And so console log logged this, right, to the console. And so if we want to understand those things a little bit more, we could go to MDN and type in alert JavaScript, right? And it'll take us to window.alert, and we could read about that. And it tells us alert instructs the browser to display a dialog with an optional message and to wait until the user dismisses the dialog, right? And so there's alert and alert message here. And so we could just do an alert, or we could do an alert with a message. We did it with a message. Under some conditions, for example, when the user switches tabs, the browser may not actually display a dialog or may not wait for the user to dismiss the dialog. Okay, so that's kind of interesting. And then the other one that we looked at was console log. So we could go MDN JS console log and take a look at that. And so here's console log, web APIs, MDN. And the console log method, so method is like, something that gets done. It's like a function. It's functionality. It's code that runs that does something. And so that's kind of an interesting thing just to notice, right? Window.alert instructs the browser to display a dialog and optional message. And alert has these parentheses, which indicate that it's a function. And console log has these parentheses, which indicates that it's a function. And you could kind of use the words method and function interchangeably. But, you could see here that, right, like this is like, a function that will take some arguments if you want to pass them in. And if you look back to what we did when we did the alert, right, here is alert, and it's a function, and it has these parentheses. And then we passed in the argument hello, which is in quotes because we wanted that to be a string. And so, that spirit of adventure and exploration as you're learning stuff, you could just try, like, what happens if I don't have the string, the quotes around that, right? Does it work? And it tells me hello's not defined, right? Because without the quotes, it doesn't know it's a string, and it's thinking that's a variable name, and it's looking to see, right, is it going to print something out? But if I created a variable and I said var hello is equal to, show this, right? And then I did that, and then I did alert, right? And I put in hello. Well, hello now is a variable, and when I do that, right, it says show this because it grabbed the value that was stored in this variable and displayed it there. But the main thing, there's the spirit of adventure and exploration, is that when you're learning coding, you really got to adopt that spirit of adventure and exploration and just be willing to look at stuff and try it. And you just got to use it. And practice leads to progress. And repetition is the mother of mastery. And the more you do something, the better you're going to get at it. And I think I shared this. I share this all the time. I love it. But, I learned this from my dog. The more you roll around in something, the more it sticks. And so you just have to okay, I'm learning about alert, right? And it's a function, also sometimes called a method. And it has these parentheses because inside those parentheses, I could pass arguments into it. And sometimes nothing gets passed in. And so you'll just have and it looks totally crazy weird, but you might have just window alert with nothing passed in. But to run it, you got to have those there. And it's saying this is a function and nothing got passed in. And that's how it'll run, right? But it could look wacky, what are those two things just sitting there at the end? Well, it's like this little area where you pass in an argument. right? So we did the alert with the parens and then put past something in. And then we also did console log with the parens. I call them parentheses, parens, and pass something in there. And when we're reading about this, right, that's how we learn. Like, okay, something new, let me go look it up on MDN and read about it. The console log method outputs a message to the web console. The message may be a single string with optional substitution values, or it may be any one or more JavaScript objects. Interesting, right? And we'll learn about objects as we get further into it. And then it gives us some syntax of what it might look like. And it really serves you well to get used to like being able to go to documentation and look things up from the source. Because otherwise, if you're just looking on the web at whoever wrote whatever, who knows where it's coming from, how old it is, how relevant it is. But if you go to MDN, you know you're getting it from the source. This is the #1 best place to go to look up documentation. All right, so what did you learn in this video? You learned going into the console, right? And going into developer tools. So we saw how to do that over here. We also learned the shortcut key. You also learned about, typing in alert here and getting alert to come up and also doing console log. You learned about functions, also frequently known as methods, interchangeably, slightly, nuances between them. But for our purposes right now, functions, methods, whatever. Close enough, right? And we learned that we could pass arguments into functions or methods. And then we learned to look things up at MDN, like our documentation. That's good learning. That's good learning. You learned some good things in this video. All right, see you in the next video where we are going to do a hello world.